Thanks so much to all of the patrons of the Nerdy Narrative. Join now to help support the channel and help pick the books that I read and review. Link in the description. I have just finished listening to the third book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series by Matt Dinniman, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook. This series, if you have not heard about Dungeon Crawler Carl yet, it's a LitRPG series that I have been reading compulsively since I started the first one a few weeks ago. Currently, as of filming, there are 6 books available. The 7th book is going to be published on October the 1st. I've already got it pre-ordered. And audio is the way to go. I am telling you, the best way to experience this series is the audiobook. Jeff Hayes with Sound Booth Theater is the narrator. He adds all of these different effects and voices and things he does with those voices that just completely immerses you, the reader, into the story, and it is just phenomenal. Now, I will say, all of the books are on Kindle Unlimited. Once I listened to the first book, I was able to pick it up on my Kindle to continue reading, and I could still hear all the voices that Jeff does for these characters. So I will say, once you've listened to one, if you can't get the rest, you should be fine to be able to narrate it yourself using his voices. Though there is one character that is a changeling, and with each floor that Carl and Donut descend to, he becomes a different race, and Jeff will alter how his voice sounds to suit that race. Y'all, even if you have to wait for Audible to do a 2-for-1 sale, or they're doing their big half-off sale, just wait. You're going to love it, and you're going to want to have them all, because I literally will finish listening to one and immediately start the next book. The Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook begins when Carl and Donut descend to the 4th level of the World Dungeon. It's called the Iron Tangle. As the name of the level would suggest, the Iron Tangle is a puzzle, a maze. But what is the tangle, you might be asking yourself? It's this impossibly complex subway system comprised of different types of trains, old and new. One thing that all of the trains have in common is that they're filled with monsters. There are certain stations where the crawlers are able to exit the trains, but they can't exit out of the subway terminal. This is where the puzzle comes into play. In order to solve this puzzle and just survive this level period, Carl and Donut find themselves teaming up with the other crawlers. In keeping with how the previous levels operated, there's always new mobs, there's new things incorporated into the game. The one that was the most interesting for the Dungeons Anarchist Cookbook is the introduction of the top 10 list, a list that both Carl and Donut have made. This comes with a price, a bounty in fact. They now have a bounty on their heads, which means there is an incentive for other crawlers to come after them. That little new addition certainly makes things interesting when you're on a level where you have to work with the other crawlers to survive, but are you going to survive the other crawlers? No surprise to anyone that has seen my reviews for the first 2 books, I gave this one a 5 out of 5 rating. Just had a phenomenal time. This book was just as good as the first book, maybe even better. That's hard to say though, because the first one is always going to be my first love for introducing me to the characters and the story. But my goodness, did book 3 have some wonderful things. In terms of just sheer enjoyment, this book is top tier. Every book so far has had moments that I would rewind multiple times just because I was laughing so hard or I just loved it so much. This installment of the series had 3 such moments, and I won't get into too much detail because I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who are reading the series, but just to say what they are vaguely for those of you that have read the series so you can revisit that joy with me. The first moment involved Mordecai when Carl got a special prize and he was having to make a selection of a few. That one, oh my goodness, I think I listened to that one 4 or 5 times. I was dying. I absolutely loved it. The second one is when Carl is trying to keep a situation from escalating, and Donut lost her mind. She let go of her temper. I don't think I'd ever heard her curse in the other books until this moment, and I flipped my lid, cracking up laughing. The third and final moment was when Carl and Donut meet Prepotente for the first time. Oh my goodness. Prepotente is similar to Donut in that when he entered the dungeon, he was just a regular goat. The person, the shepherdess who he entered the dungeon with, fed him a pet biscuit like Carl did for Donut, which increased his constitution, his intellect, allows him to speak and interact with everyone around him. Unlike Donut, he walks on his two back legs and he has fingers on his top two. So he's definitely more human acting, but he's a screaming goat. So you can probably put two and two together and see why I have just enjoyed any interaction with that character. In my personal opinion, the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook struck the perfect balance between humor and depth. I mentioned the series started off very humorous, a little surreal, but there's these little one-liners, these little throwaway comments and things that Carl and Donut notice that are clues that there might be something bigger going on, a more serious plot that's going to be uncovered. But by the time you make it to book 3, the suspicion that this dungeon is hiding something more significant, you can't ignore that anymore. There's something much bigger going on. The way that Matt Dinniman just slowly built the intrigue and the suspense was just masterful. That slow burn combined with the humor is just addictive. I am already into the 4th book. I've been listening to them back to back. I cannot get enough. I'm already feeling the beginnings of the book hangover and depression because I know in just a few short weeks I will be done with the series, or at least the books that are currently out. And then what? I guess I'll just start over and do a reread immediately. Don't say I won't. I would love to hear from those of you who have read this series. Did your favorite characters change from book to book, or did you just add to the list? I've been talking with my husband and my best friend Brian, who are also reading the series, and theirs have been changing. Mine haven't changed. I've just been adding to. But book 3, I did change my ranking. So as of the end of the Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook, the AI is my top favorite character. Of course, then come Carl and Donut. And Ellie was my next favorite until Prepotente swooped in towards the end of the book and swiped that spot out from under her. So those are my top favorite characters as of right now. If you're wondering how in the world I could have an AI as my favorite character, that character has always been my favorite since the first book. It's always been in my group of favorites. It took the top spot in this one after the moment where it talked about burning something down. If you know, you know. I cannot wait to read the next book in the series, which is titled The Gate of the Feral Gods. Well, spoiler alert, I've already started it. As soon as I finished this one, I had already downloaded the 4th book, had it ready to go, hit play. So I've already started that one. So that review will be coming in a few weeks. This series, for those of you who are interested in reading it, if you don't want to listen to the audiobooks, which they are Audible exclusive, they are all included in the Kindle Unlimited subscription if you are subscribed to that. This series was originally self-published through Amazon. It's only recently that Matt Dinniman sold the first 3 books to Ace Publishing, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. The first 2 books are already out. This one comes out on October 22nd, and it features the newest edition hardback. I am not sure if you can get physical copies of the previous covers. In the description box below, I'll have a link to Matt Dinniman's website, so you can look there for more information. I will also have the narrator's website link, Sound Booth Theater. They provide a platform for audiobooks that you might be interested in checking out, just as well as learning more about Jeff Hayes and the amazing narrators that he works with. That's where I'm going to leave you today. Going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you have not read this series, I hope that this is where I was able to talk you into investing your time into it. So until next time, remember, a good book is always worth sharing. Thanks again to all of the Nerdy Narrative patrons, with a special shout out to my Nerds Radiant tier: Chad, Mel, John, Gail, Amanda, Ashley, Star, Tara, Anne, Amanda, Andrew, Kate, Ev, and Sharon.